Right, so this video is a introduction into my current philosophy of how to DM Dungeons and Dragons. It will be talking about concepts such as small open worlds, and it is also about the setting of Ravnica, City of Guilds. So this particular video is going into a area that I put my players through at about level 8, I think it was. It might have been level 9, but I think it was level 8. And they were a party of 7, and they all had to go down into the Undercity. So anyone unfamiliar with Ravnica City of Guilds, the entire plane it's set on is one big city, and underneath the current level of the city there are older levels of the city that have been built on top of, and these are called the Undercity. And one of the guilds that makes its home down there is the Golgari Swarm, who are a guild that are in charge of feeding the population of Ravnica, and they are made up mostly of elves and insects and gorgons and humans as well. But yeah, they live in the dark, where you can't see the sun, and they have their own idiosyncrasies. So for the last several levels of this campaign, I have been working around the philosophy of small open worlds. This is something that the concept I've gotten from I think it was from the creators of Dishonored, or it might have just been named in their honor. But the game of Dishonored, it's a game about assassinating people, but you tend to have a lot of freedom in how you go about your tasks in a particular mission, but you are slightly restricted in that the level is only so big. There's various different ways you can go and choices you can take, but the level is only so big, you can't go everywhere. This is also similar to the modern Hitman games, where you are given a level as like a sandbox playground, but you can't just go out of the level. You are well, not trapped. You are semi-trapped in this one particular zone in this level. But what you do within that level is up to you, and there's lots of opportunities to find. And this my current way of doing D&D is that for each level, as we play with milestone leveling rather than experience leveling, each level is set in a different area, and they are free to roam that area, but they're very unlikely to have to leave that area. They could if they wanted to. I'm not going to stop them. It's just that if they do, they're probably wasting their time, as they won't be doing the allotted task. So when I sent my players down into the Undercity, they had a task to disrupt the Golgari Guild. They had information that the Golgari Guild were likely to be joining up with the Cult of Yore in an upcoming battle, and the party are being sent down there to disrupt the Golgari Guild so that their part in this upcoming battle is limited or absent. And there are 5 sub-factions of the Golgari, and each one of them has a leader. So the most straightforward way of completing the task is just to assassinate each of the leaders, but there are many different ways you can approach the problem, and in doing so you can find various opportunities and explore this place and do as you please as your character's skills are used, and how they go about their business is sort of done based on what the character is actually like. Not every character would like to actually assassinate anybody. I'm going to now show you through all of the maps that I put together for this level. It's going to be a sprawling and rambling journey through it, but I just wanted to show you what I've put in there, and this could be inspiration for your campaigns. The maps are all hand drawn by me, so they're not the best. I haven't used any of the many map creating tools available. I've just done it on a drawing program, but I like it that way. I can get my maps the way I want them to look, and even if they are a bit basic, they're at least easy to read. Okay, so here we go. So first up, this is the area around the last thread in. This isn't necessarily the entrance to the Undercity, but it is probably where they will be spending a lot of their time, or a lot of their downtime, and where they'd be sleeping. So part of the small open world philosophy is you don't want to make every area hostile. If you signpost to a degree where's safe and where is not safe, the party will have a much greater incentive to look around, a much greater incentive to plan and to think about things before they act, and they will also be able to see more of the place. It's not a linear map. It's supposed to be non-linear, so they are moving around, going from place to place, and exploring bits and pieces here and there. So the majority of this area is safe to walk around in. This is an inn, and there's a rot farm nearby, which are the farms that the Golgari use to feed Ravnica. Best not to look too closely into how those operate. There are hostile areas. This mine, for one, is infested with monsters, but I'll go into that in a second. But yeah, for the most part, this is a safe area. So first place to look at is the last thread itself. So this inn, it's not something from the lore or from the wiki or anything. I just made it up myself. It's an inn that's built in an old textiles mill. It's got a large steeple running up, and there is a very long route, a long single route climbing up from the top of the steeple all the way back to the surface. So it can also act as sort of a last ditch escape if the party really make a lot of noise down here and need to actually get out. That's something they could do as a last resort. I wouldn't recommend it, climbing a big route, but yeah, my party did So identify that as a possible way out, and thankfully they never had to use it. The inn is a good place to stick random NPCs. There's the barkeep. This fella here, Walcott Schloss, is the guide that they gave to the party to guide them down into the Undercity. So he's a good place to give them advice on the Undercity and to tell them what they need to do. There's also a local guide called Hjelsteeth, who's an elf that can be hired to show them around. There's also a Gorgon in here called Diavondra. Gorgons are not a common sight in the Undercity, but they do live down here. I thought it was a good idea to signpost that Gorgons don't work like Medusas. You don't turn to stone just by looking at them. They have to actually direct their petrification beam at you. So that's just a sort of an inbuilt tutorial there. I also put in a character called Zalin the Gutter Bard. This is a character that actually appears in flavor text on Magic cards. He doesn't have his own card, and no one really knows what he looks like, but he is a good source of rumours. That the party could ask this person for rumours, and it's a way of giving out various opportunities. They could so he could talk about how the elves in Deadbridge Village are looking for someone to help them, and that there's some goblin spelunkers around that have been exploring the caves. So yeah, this is like the place for the party to sort of get their stuff together and decide what they want to do next. They'll have been told they need to disrupt the Golgari, either by assassinating the various leaders. So they would end up sort of deciding where to go next. This down here is a rot farm. It's not particularly important. There is an elf shaman here who works the farm. She also has a certain affinity with the insectoid crawl. As you can see, there's a couple of crawl drones in her house. If the party sort of got involved with her, they could possibly find a translator for the crawl in her, seeing as the crawl don't speak common. They have their own language. There's also a secret passage into the crawl hive down here. So just over here, this is the entrance to the crawl hive. There's some crawl scavengers coming out of here. I have made sure to put signposts on each of the exits, and these are lit. All these green blobs are glowing fungus, which is the main light source down here. Elves can see in the dark, and crawl can as well, so most people have got dark vision, but it helps that there's some amount of light. So looking from a distance, even the party members without dark vision will be able to see that this is an exit over here. I wanted to try and make a lot of areas as open as possible to avoid the party getting lost. I think you don't want to make everywhere a labyrinth. You don't want to make everywhere a maze. You want to make some areas as accessible as possible. So over here to the right, we have got this is an abandoned mine, and it is very dangerous and full of fungus, and it's also full of these creatures called Grudians, which are kind of horrible monsters that fill up sort of some of the worse monster cards in the Ravnica set. They're not especially dangerous, but there's a lot of them. And I gave them abilities where they could crawl on walls and spit globs of acid at people. So this mine represents a kind of like a sub-quest area. It's not essential that they go in here. This can work as a place for other NPCs to send them to. Say the elves of Deadbridge Village, they would have worked these mines at one point, but they're now abandoned. So they could, if they wanted to get into the good books with the Devkra and elves, they could be sent down into the mines to clear them out. There's also another secret passage into the Crawl Hive here, so that's one possibility for interaction with this mine. One thing that I included in fights in this mine is that it's prone to collapse, so if anyone sort of sets off like a fireball or some big explosive spell or something that causes sound like thunder damage, like thunder wave, they could bring the roof down. So there were numerous cave-ins. There's also poisonous fungus, which these purple ones are poisonous, and if you sort of spend too long in their presence, you will be taking con saves to see whether you take damage from that. There's also a sort of a more complicated story involved. This is the Mine Authority building. This is where the person in charge of the mine would have been working from. And in recent times, this mine was bought out by an Orzhov guild member looking to make some money out of it. And he was also involved in this subplot that had going on in the campaign, where the Orzhov were creating these creatures called the Slum Reapers to attack poor people and empty out the slums so they can profit off them. And this fellow was using a relic he acquired from the Simic. He probably didn't get it off them by honest means, but it was a stone that could allow the crossbreeding of creatures. So he was crossbreeding these bull Grudians, these bigger Grudians, along with mortarpedes, which are these horrible centipede creatures. But this fellow, he reached a horrible end and got killed by his own creatures. So he is now some kind of ghost, which is someone that the party could meet. Another point of interest is this massive hole in the middle of the map. This leads down to a horrible pit of slime full of ooze creatures. You wouldn't want to go down there. There is also a little tunnel that leads to this archaeological excavation, where an archaeologist who has now disappeared has been working on looking at old fossils, and I think he discovered an ancient artifact that allowed people to communicate with insects, which is something that the party could acquire to make it easier to speak with the Crawl. I can't remember exactly where they found the artifact, or whether it was just in here. I think it was just in here. This other cave, this leads further down into this horrible pit, which leads to another sub-map where a character called Orbluvis the Goo Witch lives. She's a kind of warlock that specialises in oozes. I'll show you that map later. that's another good kind of sub map to send people to. You could have them hunt down or blue this. This cave here is where there are several goblin spelunkers. Spelunkers mean cave divers. They based on the artwork from the card Goblin Spelunker. So they're down here in the Undercity exploring and looking for stuff, and they have managed to find a little tunnel that is a sort of a secret way into the Lotleth district. So that's another thing that the party can find. There's the entrance to the Stonefair district, where the Gorgon Ludmilla lives. Over here I put this little kind of secret cave in here. The party never interacted with this. You could use this for anything, but I put a little kind of Dimir listening post. The Dimir being the guild of covert actions and spies and assassins. It'd be interesting to have some sort of like subplot of Dimir doing stuff down here. But you could use it for like sticking insects in there, or just there's multiple things you could put in there. You could have like a Rakdos coven hiding down there. There's the entrance to the district of Lotleth, which I'll show you later, and over here is the entrance to Dead Bridge Village. So as you can see, this kind of central area is smack bang in the middle of the map, and it gives them plenty of things to explore. They can go off in various different directions. Each of these 4 exits leads to one of the 5 factions they need to deal with, and there are several exits to more dangerous zones as well. So next up, let's go to a different area. Alright, I wanted to show you this as well. This is the overworld map. It's a very simplified map that's kind of drawn on a piece of leather and given to them by elves. Each of these little blobs is one of the different areas, and I've got a marker to show where they are. So it's the last thread. So that's the map I just showed you, the last thread, and there are each of these lines represents a route to a different place. Not all of the maps are shown on this map, because some of them are more secret than others. But as you can see, like the Crawl Hive down here, you got Stonefair over to here, and that sort of like all this loops around. You got the district of Lotleth, and there's the Dead Bridge that is sort of winding over the top of them, and there's this river that's sort of going through all of them. So it's quite easy to follow. You're not going to get too lost with this map. But next up, I'm going to show you the Crawl Hive. So this is Grecospen, the Crawl Hive. The Crawl are these insectoid creatures that live in a colony, and they are one of the main races of the Golgari swarm. They are a more recent addition to the Golgari than others, and I kind of figured that kind of makes them second-class citizens in a way. A lot of the things that I put in a campaign, some of them I've got from the wiki, and some of them I just my own headcanon, and stuff I've just sort of gleaned from playing Magic the Gathering. I haven't read any of the novels to do with Ravnica, so I haven't got that. But I think a lot of my stuff comes from somewhere, but yeah, a lot of it is made up based on how I think it should be. but I'm just guessing. So this hive, quite a big map. It's also probably one of the harder ones to go into with a violent motive, because there's so many crawl, and they are kind of a hive mind, so they will just swarm you if you try and kill them. But it's always an option. The basic crawl isn't the most dangerous of foes, but there are other ones. I've made stat lines for lots of different kinds of crawl based on the Magic the Gathering cards and artwork. So in the middle, you got a big kind of pool they use for their water. They've got various herds of animals. You've got the drudge beetles that the Golgari uses, beasts of burden. You've got the brown scale lizards, which are kind of big pack animals. Over here, this is like their war room. I have included some of these more elite crawl. The crawl have a kind of warrior caste called the Krunstras. So I just made a much beefier version of the crawl stat line and gave them bigger AC and more hit points, and they got a big melee weapon. I made this character General Tabers to lead them. He's not a canon character, but I thought I needed a general. There's also some harpooners, which are sort of shooting long-range troops, and along with the usual drones, which is the stat line from the Ravnica book. So the crawl have got their own agenda that the party can interact with. These guys are currently planning an attack on the Penvar Hanging Citadel, which is a stronghold of the Golgari. They are planning to actually attack their own, because they are being coerced into a role they don't want. So the Hanging Citadel, I'll show you the map later, but it looks like this. It is a castle hanging from the roof, and it is protecting the Crosda Labyrinth, where their guild leader Gerard lives. And I was thinking, like, what kind of troops would actually operate out of a hanging citadel, and I thought the most likely one would be the winged crawl. There is a winged crawl variant, so they're like the drones, but they've got wings. So in my own little headcanon, the troops of Gerard have kidnapped a bunch of crawl eggs as hostages. So this is the egg room with all of their birthing shamans. They have kidnapped a load of their eggs and are holding them hostage, and in return the crawl have to promise the loyalty of their troops, and they get to use their winged crawl for their purposes. So yeah, this is the birthing room with all their eggs. There's a few sort of sleeping quarters. Over here is a character from the card game, who's a known quantity. This is the Death Priest Mazirek, who is a very scary Death Priest. I think, yeah, Death Priest is a stat line from the Ravnica book, but I beefed him up a bit and gave him a bit more abilities. This This guy here is also a death priest, and he's got the death priest stat line. But Mazarek is sort of the spiritual leader of the Crawl, and a formidable magic user. So in order to behead the Crawl, they would have to kill off both Mazarek and General Tabers. But there's also other ways you could go about it. If the party finds some way to communicate with the Crawl, say with that relic from the archaeological site, they could do that, or via that shaman at the rot farm. They could negotiate with the Crawl and see what they want. Then they'd possibly find out that they were planning an attack on the on Penvar. They could also just watch. They could sneak in and watch General Tabers and see what he's up to, and work it out and sort of do their own attack on Penvar. The party I was DMing for, what they ended up doing was disguising themselves as another faction of the Golgari, the erstwhile, coming in via the secret passage, which this is the secret passage that comes in from the mines, and doing a false flag attack on them, so that the Crawl would think they were under attack by the erstwhile. So that's one way of doing it. But yeah, there's the whole purpose of having this open world is to encourage creativity. Also, I gave them, I think, 3 days to complete the tasks in. That's how long they had before the battle was going to start. So they didn't have infinite resources. They had to think about what spells they used and how much their HP they had left each day, and act accordingly. So they couldn't just go blasting with all of their best spells every day. So more various chambers over here. There's the secret passage into the farm, so that's another way in. You could conceivably sneak in via one of the 2 secret passages during the night when everyone's asleep, and then just assassinate everyone, or the 2 heads, assassinate them while they're sleeping, if you're a rogue or something. But that is Greca-Span. So on to the next one. So this is the district of Lotleth. Now the term Lotleth is something from Magic the Gathering. There was a creature called Lotleth Troll, and I think Lotleth referred to the undead. I altered that canon a little bit, so that Lotleth was a district of the Undercity. I saw it as being a sort of a faded opulence kind of area. There's lots of posh old townhouses that have fallen into disrepair, and it's currently housed by various necromancers and their lackeys. So all of these houses down here, they are have got a necromancer in them. I decided that I wanted to alter the distinction of the various different undeads in the Undercity. So I see the Lotleth undead as being the sort of more traditional risen corpses that a regular necromancer would make, and that there's also another kind of zombie, which is the corpse jacks, which is created by a certain kind of fungus, and the other kind of necromancer is a more shamanistic plant-based necromancer that manipulates these corpse jack funguses and their growth. I'll go into the different kinds of undead in another area, but the main kind of undead you get in this area are the regular risen corpses. So these pens are filled with zombies and zombie rats and zombie trolls. They've got several thugs that are in charge of corralling the zombies and keeping them in order. They're all barred in these pens. This area is also sort of mostly friendly. Party can walk freely through these streets, and it's well lit with these street lights. They might get a bit of a shock from walking past these pens and seeing all these zombies, but they won't attack them. So they are pretty much safe as long as they don't try and break in anywhere. The whole area is also protected by a wall of corpses. So these big things are they are zombies that are pinned in place on fences, sort of a bit like The Walking Dead, and it makes for quite a sight, and it's quite eerie. But they're not dangerous unless they just walk into them, because they are pinned in place. Yes, this place is another one. It can it look like a big threat, but as long as you are walking in the safe areas, you're not necessarily going to get ambushed. So the Lotleth is also one of the factions they have to deal with. Their leader is a man called Vratislav. He's a character that's named in the lore, but he doesn't have a card yet, so we don't really know what he looks like. I'll just use some art from another Golgari card. I imagined him as being a sort of middle-aged human. I think he is supposed to be human. So I imagine him as being sort of quite egotistical, but quite young. He is sort of in competition with sort of centuries-old elves and liches and other creatures in the Golgari, but he's still holding his own as a human. So he's quite egotistical because of that. Yeah, he's quite a powerful necromancer. He's also quite scheming, and it's very possible that the party could make some sort of deal with him, in a way to work against some of the other factions. He doesn't like the Lich Storev, because she represents another powerful force in the Golgari. She has control of the Erstwhile, which is now the biggest sort of military force in the Golgari. So if you could work with him to get rid of Storev, he'd be quite happy about that. And that is what our party did. They sort of got advice from him about defeating Storev. But Vratislav has made his lair in this great big old temple on the hill. No one really knows who it was a temple for. The gods in Ravnica are pretty much fallen out of favour. So this is a desecrated temple from way back. Vratislav has his own schemes that he's getting up to in here. The upper floor isn't too much to worry you, although he does have some prisoners from the overworld, so that might be cause for concern. But he does have a sub basement where he is up to no good. There's a big pit here which leads down in there, and there's some stairs as well. So if the party were a bit sneaky, they could sneak in and see what he's up to. There's a secret passage from the area around the last thread. That's where the goblin spelunkers were. He does have a lot of thugs and zombies and other necromancers to guard him. And if they started a fight with Vratislav, they'd have to worry about someone letting all of the zombies free, and they'd have to find some way to get out of Lotleth. I'll show you the downstairs in a second. I just want to finish off the district of Lotleth. So there's a river here which is full of leeches, which isn't a great thing to walk through, so it's a good thing there's a bridge. Up here is the shop of Zordutha Grangle. She is a witch of some kind. I think she's unaligned, so she's not part of the Golgari. I think she's an independent. She has her imps and like servants that are tending to all these mushrooms and stuff. She works as sort of a good place for the party to find potions and cures, and so if they need those down here. She can also work as a sort of conduit to a new patron. If you've got any warlocks in your group, her patron is this demon called Pazudalax, the Death Baron. I couldn't find a demon artwork that I liked, so I just used the Death Baron artwork, which I think is an undead creature of some kind. But yeah, I thought he looked kind of cool. He's a demon of disease, so the party could make a deal with him. During the plot of my campaign, one of the party was dealing with there was an outbreak of a disease called Black Tongue amongst the Selesnian centaurs, including their parents. So there was a good opportunity to have difficult choices with involving making deals with a demonic death baron, because he could offer to cure them. Yeah, it's just a useful shop basically, and there are exits to different areas. I think that area is just under Deadbridge, so it's not really named. And this way is the other entrance to Stonefair. And yeah, that's all for that one. This is the area underneath the temple. This is Vratislav's sub-basement. I also use this map for another area, which I'll go into later, so don't worry about that bit over there. But yeah, there's various entrances to get down here. I have put myself some notifications on the GM layer. So I think that stairs leads to there. So there's a basement and there's a sub-basement. So this basement that leads down from the temple. So this is where the big pit leads to, and down here he is creating a gigantic zombie, which is something the party could run into. My party never came down here. They didn't really interact with this area. Didn't really have that much beef with Vratislav because they were making deals with him, so they weren't sort of like suspicious of him. So, but it's just nice to have like extra possibilities. There's more prisoners down here that they could possibly rescue. I'm sure these guys don't really want to be down here or deserve to be down here. They get past all of these thugs and zombies. He's got another laboratory down here for stuff to be working on. But then in the sub-basement, they've got, I think actually that's the bottom of the pit, so that's probably where the zombie giant is. This area is run by these guy called, I think they're called plague crafters, which are these sort of disease-based warlock guys. And down here he has a plague boiler, which is a device used for making horrible diseases. So possibly Vratislav might have something to do with the Black Tongue Plague, or maybe it's all just a fit up. But that's something you could work into the plot or work around. There's big skulls on these doors just to discourage people from going in there, because you don't want to be around here. He used these zombie carriers to work in there. They don't worry about catching diseases, but the party would if they go down there. There's also a secret ladder that leads up to the area behind the Lotleth area, if Rathlav needs to escape. But yeah, that's it's more playgrounds to go into. So I'll just go back to the map again. So I've shown you the last thread area, then we move down into the Crawl Hive, and then up to Lotleth. So let's go to Stonefair next. So this is Stonefair, the lair of the Gorgon. The name has something resonant about it. This is mostly taken up by this great big labyrinthine palace. This is where Ludmilla the Tunnel Viper lives. So she's one of the 5 factions pretty much by herself, although she has followers as well. Ludmilla is a character from the story. I didn't create her. She is the last member of the Sisters of Stone Death, who were the previous rulers of the Golgari before Queen Savra and then Gerard. So she is sitting in her opulent palace, seething and scheming. So it's a good person for the party to possibly collaborate with. They could just come in here and kill her, which would obviously start a fight. This place is as labyrinthine as possible, so she is likely to run around using teleportation magic, as Gorgons are able to do, and fog clouds, and just escaping the party, and then when they're split up, ambush them and turn them to stone. There's pots full of snakes all over the place that she can knock over and get at the party. She also has her own group of followers. These are all Devkrin elves that are still loyal to her. I've used the older Golgari artwork from the first Golgari, from the first Ravnica set for these guys. They are a bit more kind of dishevelled and less sort of less together looking. So those kind of like mark themselves out as being her followers. They have a few big surprises as well, like this guy riding a giant beetle. That'll be quite difficult to fight against. And she has her own shamans using the old Golgari shaman artwork. But yeah, the front entrance, there's a load of there's an area for giving tributes to Ludmilla. If people, some locals would come along and give her fruit and stuff, just to get in her good books. She's quite a vain creature. The best way to get on a good side is to make her seem like a big deal. if you manage to get onto a good side, you might be able to collaborate with her to restart the Sisters of Stone Death, in which case she'd ask the party to find her several Gorgons to join her side against Gerard. And this would, if they succeed in that, that would be a big thorn in Gerard's side, and make it less likely for him to be able to do anything in the battle. There's quite a bit of ornamentation in this palace. There's a statue of a Gorgon here, and a big fountain. She's also got the obligatory gallery of petrified statue people. These are all petrified humans. So maybe the party want to rescue them. There's a south entrance they could go into. This cave is where they keep the drudge beetles, and it's just an empty cave. So if they came all the way along the river, they'd be able to find this southern entrance. But there's in the river. The other thing we know about Stonefair is that it's full of crocodiles. As there was a card called Stonefair Crocodile, so I thought I had to include some crocodiles in there. So these are normal sized crocodiles, and these are the gigantic crocodile, which are creatures from the monster manual. There is also down here, there's a tunnel network which is home to a worm, which is a quite significant threat, as it's a huge creature that burrows around and can swallow a party member if they're not careful. And if they start a fight with a worm, there's also a bunch of Grudians sort of hanging around, hidden on the ceiling, that will rush in and ambush them when they start the fight. I can't remember exactly what was the trigger for having a fight with a worm, but this is just another place that they can get sent to for a side quest. It's like something that would be a menace that someone would want to seek out and kill. It could also be a reagent for something that the party's after, like a worm tooth would be a good thing to be searching out for. I think the worm ended up having something to do with Vratislav when my party were involved. I'm not sure they went down there because of Vratislav, but they did end up telling Vratislav that there's a worm down here that they killed, and then he ended up coming down here and resurrecting the worm. So in my current timeline, Vratislav now has his own zombie worm, which makes him even more powerful. So yeah, there's the exit to Lotleth up there, and that'd be the exit to the area around the last thread. The river does technically carry on past here, but there's no more map. If the party go up there, you just have to convince them to turn back again for some reason. So next up is, let's go to Deadbridge Village. So this is Deadbridge Village. This is the main village for the Devcrin elves, which are the sort of the dark elf equivalent in the Ravnica campaign. They're sort of like drow, but they've got their own sort of characteristics. There's plenty of rot farms around here where they're growing food. These are manned by elf farmers and also skeletons as well, which they control to use as creatures of drudgery. And there's lots of buildings built into the stone. It's quite an ancient place. The village of Deadbridge in the story is a place that predates the signing of the Guild Pact. So it was there before a lot of the current buildings were there. So it's at least 10,000 years old, but most likely even older than that. It is so old that it's kind of sunk down to the bottom and has been built on top of. It's no longer visible unless you go to the Undercity. This is like a lot of these areas. It's mostly a free zone to walk around. They can wander around all these roads without being attacked. This is a safe zone. As long as they don't get too leery. There are positioned around the place various elf archers. They're in these little nook overlooks that they can see out of. So if anything starts, they'll get shot at. So they're all over the place. So there's a few houses here and there. There's also a couple of shops. I try to make sure to put little signposts on shops to direct people's attention to it, because otherwise how they tell the difference. So they can see through the window and see there's a counter, but it's better to direct people to things without having to tell them that it's a thing. There's a mood mark painter. So this is something from the lore. The Devkrin elves, they paint themselves with this special body paint that it shows off what mood they're in based on the colour. There is a magic item in the Ravnica book for its use, and it's sort of about it gives people advantage to insight checks when they can see you. It's very very niche in its use, but I could see how indulging in the local customs and getting yourself painted up would make it easier to get in the good books with Devkrin elves. So that's something they could do. There's also a find broker's shop. A find broker is basically a scavenger that finds stuff that has kind of got lost down here, like gone through the sewers or whatever, or fallen down a gutter. And sometimes they actually sell things that are actually worth something. So it's a good sort of like minor magic item shop. But a lot of the things that are in here are sort of like not necessarily very good quality. So I had a goggles of the night that's just like half a goggles of the night, just one goggle, so only sees 30 feet instead of 60 feet. There's also a mill up here, a water mill, and there's a bunch of animal pens. They've got these big Deadbridge beetles, and these strider things they use to ride around on, which they are just a very lanky looking insect, very strange. But the main part of this map is the mansion. So this is the base for another one of the faction leaders, which is Matka Azoni. So the Matka is like the spiritual leader of the Devkrin elves. She is a very powerful shaman, and she specialises in summoning swarms of insects. So she would likely use things like insect plague and giant insect spells. She also she's known to move around on a carpet of beetles. So she's accompanied by various insect swarms. So this is probably one of the easier NPCs to just straight up kill. Although she's got a few followers, she isn't as powerful as some of the others. But she's also one of the NPCs it's probably easiest to get in the good books with. She's a good conduit for side quests. If the party seek her out and talk to her, they can sort of get directed to kill the worm or go into the mines or something like that. And if they get friendly enough with her, they could possibly convince her to take a back seat during the battle or move against Gerard. I don't think she's particularly fond of Gerard, so it wouldn't take too much convincing to convince her to not send all of her elves to a bloody death. I also put in a rather convoluted side plot where I think I put a note in her diary in her room that they could find that would suggest that Gerard had done something to result in the death of one of her friends, who is now become a zombie in the Crosder labyrinth, and they could find that zombie that's got a necklace around its a coloured necklace around its neck, and then bring that back to Izoni and show her, and then she'd be angry. It was possibly a little bit too complicated, and it would rely on them doing roguish things when they don't have a rogue. They didn't really have any reason to sneak into Izoni's bedroom, so I'm not surprised they didn't find that one. There is also a few little nooks and crannies in the village. So up here there is a little culvert you can go into and find this little nook here. So part of the storyline was that there was another group that was sent down here to treat with the Golgari and convince them, but they disappeared without a word. And what actually happened is they got assassinated by Golgari assassins. So these guys are all dead, and the party can find them and realise that they all died. But there was one that survived, and she is down here. She is a Rakdos acrobat. So the groups were made up of all different members of different guilds. They were supposed to be sort of a collaboration between all the guilds in the benefit of the guild pact. So they did end up with a Rakdos acrobat on one of the teams. So she is she has escaped and is hiding in this little nook down here, plotting to try and assassinate somebody by herself. She's quite psychotic. The party can find her and sort of use her as an ally, although she's a little bit unpredictable and a bit of a liability sometimes. And there's also another culvert that leads down here, which leads to another map. This is like a sort of a gully that they can get to. It's another place that you can send them on a side quest. I had them go down there in search of an elf that had disappeared. So after they'd questioned the locals, they realised that he must have gone down there or been taken down there. So it's another plot thread. And yeah, all of these lead to the area underneath the dead bridge. So next up, I will show you the gully from down here. So this whole area is deemed hostile it's sort of a good way of sort of cordoning off hostile areas is to have some sort of like entrance or barrier between it, so they kind of know they're stepping over a threshold, and it kind of sounds dangerous, like you're going into an abandoned mine, you're going through a culvert grate in following a stream, so they know they're sort of getting into something going down here, so they're not sort of like they will sort of be on alert. So this area here, it's mostly, it follows through. They did follow this gully underneath this this low hanging rock, and down here, there isn't that much in the way of monsters in their way. There's a few leeches, but they would end up finding the lost guy in this area with all these waterfalls and weird rocks. These creatures are called mind leech masses, or looples, which was something that were important in the first Ravnica books, I think. They're kind of like hive mind creatures that attack your mental powers, and I think they can make duplicates of people if they sort of get them to a certain point. So these are creatures I made myself. There's no stat line for these in the Ravnica book. They mostly do like psychic damage and that. They're also a good point for involving the Dimir in the storyline, because they are a creature created by the Dimir. You don't have to involve the Dimir in it, but it's something you can do. You can also use the doppelganger angle as well, imply that these creatures have made duplicates of people, and that can be quite interesting to play around with. So yeah, the side quest would just involve them coming down here, finding this guy, defeating these loopholes, and then coming back again. There's a couple of other things to play around with down here as well. There's a Gorgon that's got a lair down here that they could find. She's made some fairy lights. It's all very pretty. So that's one of several Gorgons they could find to convince to be one of the Sisters of Stone Death. There is also this side nook here. So this whole area is like a theatre. These are seats, and the stage is covered in these mannequins. And it's all very mysterious, and will invariably pique the player's interest. And yeah, if they look in this chest, they'll find this note that suggests the setup of a play, and there's loads of props in there as well. So the main thrust of the puzzle is to arrange all of these mannequins in the right order and the right stage position with the right props to actually put on this play. And if they get it right, a secret door over here clicks open, and they can find their way into this into what is another Dimir hidey hole. So there'll be notes in here that are to do with the mind leech masses. There's a jar that's smashed open. There's all kinds of mysterious stuff. So it's stuff that could link into a Dimir subplot. I had these Dimir spybug creatures to one side to use in it, but I never actually used them because I think I'd already done a fight. So amongst all of these all these bushes and that, there are these creatures called wood wraiths, which is one of the undead creatures that are. It's like the end. In my head canon, it's the end stage of the corpse jack fungus. So I might go into that now. So in terms of the Golgari Undead, you've got these things called corpse jacks. Now this is a fungus that sort of hijacks a corpse and brings it back to life, and will seek to feed on living flesh like a zombie would. So they're very much like a zombie. So they're not to be sort of mistaken with this regular necromantic zombies that have been risen from the dead by necromancers. So they're another thing. And corpse jacks come in different sizes. You've got large ones. It all depends on what the creature it's used as its host. If there isn't that much in the way of material to work with, you might get something like a skulljack, which are these like slitherhead creatures, which is just some corpse jack fungus sort of hijacking the remains of a head. Or you might get one of these guys that this looks like a skeleton. So I call these guys skulljacks. And when a corpse jack has reached a certain point in its life, and used up a lot of the material of the body, it will become a wood wraith, which is one of these. So it's more plant than animal by this point. So they're more kind of like woody and solid and a bit more ferocious and more dangerous, really. And these wood wraiths come in different sizes as well, so you get a large one. And then at a certain point, once they've been around for a certain amount of time, you'll get a creature that's I can't remember what the name of it was. I put them under plants, didn't I? The wood wraith corruptor. So these are the giant wood wraiths, and they've got their own characteristics, and they can do their own kind of magic. So it's like I've sort of created it into a sort of like a life cycle, so that the corpse jack fungus hijacks the body, and then eventually once it's gone through its changing process, it becomes a wood wraith, and then after being a wood wraith for so long, it becomes a wood wraith corruptor. If they become a skulljack, they probably won't have enough material to ever become a wood wraith. They just kind of burn out at that stage. But the more shamanistic Golgari, sort of like the elf shamans and that, they would have more of an affinity for these plant-based zombies, and they can control them. They're less likely to use these regular kind of zombies. But yeah, none of that's canon. That's just all stuff I wanted to sort of make it make sense to me. I think it's interesting like that. But it did mean that the party were quite wary of corpses, just in case one of them got infected by corpse jack fungus. You could play around with having random rolls for any corpses that stick around for very long. If they leave bodies around, you could have them become zombies after a certain amount of time. It's a lot you can play around with. There's also this map has the bottom of that big hole outside of the last thread. So there's these horrible necro oozes. So not somewhere you really want to go down. There's also, this is the where the hole in the side of the that big hole leads to. So there's a thing that you slide down here and enter this chamber that's just full of ooze. And all of this this dark section is quite low down, so you'd have to crawl to get through it. And these tunnels are very, very tiny, like a regular human wouldn't be able to squeeze through it, but an ooze would. So it creates sort of an interesting situation where they are crawling at half speed and at a serious disadvantage. And living down here is a character called Orbluvis, who is the Goo Witch. Now she is sat down here enjoying a nice pot of tea on a ornate table and chair. So it makes quite a strange sight. She's quite a strange character. She's mainly motivated by money and finer things, despite being a witch that creates ooze. So I think she can control it to the point where she doesn't dirty the things that she wants to stay clean. The party didn't really interact very much with her. They just sent one guy down here to scout, and he came down here, had a conversation with Orbluvis, and then left, deciding that it's probably not a good idea to mess with her, so they didn't. This is someone that they could be sent to kill or bring in, because she is most likely preying on the locals and feeding them to oozes and stealing their money, if they have any. So that's another possible side quest. You could also put a key item down here to get back, but yeah, it's something that I never needed in the end. So where to next? So we've been to Deadbridge Village. The gully was down here. So that's an area that isn't on this map because it's an unknown area. So next we'll go to the area underneath Deadbridge. So this is the area underneath the Deadbridge. The Deadbridge I decided was an actual bridge. It's just not really in use any longer. I use this bit of artwork to sort of like show a bit of it. It's kind of it's sort of in use, but it doesn't really go anywhere in particular because it's like in the Undercity. I suppose it is still used as a thoroughfare, but it's above a lot of things because it's on pillars. So all these pillars are the pillars for the Deadbridge. This area here with its stairs, this is sort of like the entrance to the area. This is where the party would come in after they'd come in from the surface. I'd say the surface would go to the Deadbridge itself, carry on there for a bit, and then there's a route down. There is there was a big pile of corpses of Rakdos characters sort of at this entrance, suggesting that some Rakdos had come in to attack the Golgari. This would have been because of that one Rakdos character that was sent down and presumably got killed, even though she's actually still alive now. So this was like a rescue party, but they failed because they all got shot by elves. And then because of the corpse jack fungus, these all became zombies. So all of these guys hidden in the bushes here, these are corpse jack zombies, which are poised to attack the party when they first come down. Sort of the introductory fight just before they get to Deadbridge Village. The river is full of leeches, so be careful when you are crossing. There's the exit to Lotleth. Underneath the bridge there is, of course, the obligatory trolls. So this little gang of trolls will accost the party whenever they get near and try and get a toll out of them. They're very stupid though, so the party managed to convince them that certain coins were worth more than others, and so managed to get by with a few copper instead of silver or gold pieces. There's another elf archer guarding this route into Deadbridge Village. So this little nook here is another cave behind one of these culvert things. They don't have to go in here, but this bit leads to that little nook where all the corpses of their predecessors were. This is full of gigantic centipedes called spinal centipedes, and also giant scorpions, which they killed them all. So these things are, I give them sort of a beefier stat line than the usual giant centipede, because giant centipedes are actually quite small and not much to be scared of, but these things are a bit beefier. So yeah, there isn't that much in this area. It's just a bit between places. So this leads, if you follow the bridge, you'll end up in the Crosda Labyrinth, but it first goes to the Umeralek Necropolis, which is the next area. So this is the Umeralek Necropolis, mostly. There's more pillars that go along here. This is following the footprint of the bridge. So the party could actually just walk along the bridge if they had a mind, but there are guard posts on the bridge, so they'd have to worry about going past them and trying to explain themselves. But if they can convince their way past those, it is maybe a quicker way through. This area is mostly taken up by the necropolis itself. There's a few bushes full of corpse jacks and wood wraiths that they need to be wary of. After that first fight against corpse jacks, they are very wary of all bushes, just in case, which is good. But mostly they can just walk along here unharmed. It's just a safe road. As long as they don't walk into the bushes, they should be fine. So this whole area is the necropolis. It's in the storyline. It was something that lay hidden for a long time. I think it was discovered by Mazarek, the Crawl Death Priest, in the end. But these guys that inhabit the necropolis are called the Erstwhile. So these are ancient elves from a long time ago that have sort of slept in undeath. The Ravnica book talks about the Erstwhile, and he says to use whites as the basis for their stat line, which I have done. Although I left out the kind of life draining aspect of them, because that's always awkward to work around, and I think it was necessary. But I gave them some good armor and weapons, so they are quite a threat. They sort of represent sort of Gerard's favourite soldiery in his force at the moment, because they are sort of ancient, skilled elves that all live in undeath. So this is another one of the 5 factions, the Erstwhile. and it represents one of the factions that's most loyal to Gerard because they are his current favourites. They are led by a named character called Storev, who is someone that has their own card. She is a Devkarin Lich, so I mostly use the Devkarin Lich stat line for her from the Ravnica book, but I altered it a bit, gave her a bit more HP and that. She is also known to have a pet worm. As you can see from her artwork, you can see her sort of just petting the worm. It's an undead worm, which is just here. It is common knowledge that he actually has a worm, so the several NPCs, when discussing Storev, will know that she has a worm. It is very a very bad idea to attack her in her lair, because she's got extra mobs down there, and she's got her worm to protect her. The best thing to do would be to lure her out, which is what the party did. They disguised themselves, or disguised some other zombies that they got off Ratislav as erstwhile, and lured her out to examine them, because Storev is on the lookout for more pockets of erstwhile sleeping in various places, and she would be very happy to find more. So they lured her to this area in front of the necropolis, so they just were able to just fight her and the guys in the surrounding area. But as the fight drew on, I let them know that the ground was rumbling and they could hear the worm approaching. So it made for a very tense fight. When but once they killed off Storev, then the rumbling stopped, because the worm was sort of tied to the wishes of Storev. So it'd be quite a difficult thing to fight against. There's also a few other variants of the erstwhile down here. This is an erstwhile shaman, so a caster of sorts. And there's an erstwhile captain as well, so he's got a bit of extra HP, and I think I gave him a sword and some like a parry ability. So there's a few variants there. So yeah, there's a few different ways to deal with Storev. I suppose you could also treat with her as well, but she's less likely to just straight up betray Gerard, because she's in a very commanding position at the moment. So this area leads on to the area around the Krosda Labyrinth up there. There's also this area down here, which is the front entrance to another necropolis, which I'll show you in a second. There is a waterfall and little stream that appears to be giving out blood, but it is just coloured by fungus, but it is very eerie. There's a few dead elves in the vicinity, and there's these big kind of bone monoliths with runes all over them. But I'll show you the other necropolis. So this is the map that was on the other half of the temple basement area. So they come in here to the necropolis, and they follow this river, which leads into it. Outside there's these creatures called catacomb slugs, which are just big horrible slugs that feed on the dead. They are very slow, and they will approach them very slowly. I don't expect them to have to fight these, but they will kind of like hurry them up to just get on with it. They won't pursue them for very far, but if you just keep on sort of moving them slowly towards them, they'll get the idea, and they'll they'll hurry up. This area leads further into the necropolis. There's a side chamber here where there's a few various undead creatures, including skeleton trolls, that will attack them, like throw stuff across this chasm, and they can fight those. Oh, moved to the wrong bit. This area here, the water is sort of seeping in through a crack here, which they could possibly investigate and realise it leads somewhere. So the river is kind of like has broken its boundaries and is actually just flowing straight through the tomb now. But like the main way of getting through is this corridor, which is a great big ambush and trap situation. So if they walk along here, if they tread on any of the orange block spaces, so these, I think these will be on the GM layer, so they can't see them. I think they did spot them. So if they aren't searching for traps or anything, they won't see these. But if they tread on them, what happens is this secret door opens here, revealing all of these skeleton archers on this ledge, plus some undead bats, and also these whirring saw blades will start moving as well, and these follow this red path backwards and forwards. So these go on initiative 20 and just keep on sort of moving so far and then reaching the end and coming back again. So those can hit the players. This will all be in initiative step because there'll be monsters and stuff. Also, these two pillars will fall from the ceiling, blocking the way back. So they kind of forced to interact with these archers and bats and that. This door at the end is locked. And also there's a secret passage here that opens up where a big block of skeleton warriors and skeleton captain are all ready to come on in. So once they sort of deal with destroy these pillars, these guys will all be there to charge in them. So it's quite a horrible trap. They can mitigate it a little bit, and they can try and avoid the blades and that, but they'll still be sort of fighting quite a lot. None of these guys are particularly scary in terms of stat lines. Like, they're just normal skeletons with bows, like 13 HP each. These are just regular skeletons. These are skeleton warriors, so they got a bit more HP. I beefed them up a bit. My party came up with an interesting solution to the big pillars. He actually used the shrink spell to reduce the size of one of them, so it wasn't blocking the view anymore. So they were able to see sort of these guys coming in and attacking them, so they weren't sort of totally trapped by that. There is a passage that leads up here to this ledge, but what's most likely to happen is they'll just kind of vault the 10 feet, they'll climb up the 10 feet and get these guys, or teleport, or whatever they can do. At the end here this is a locked door. There is an elaborate puzzle I put on this, which has its own screen to it. I can't remember exactly how it worked. I think it was to do with like getting different levels of blood to a certain level. It was quite elaborate, and they worked it out in the end. And inside here is the tomb of a vampire. So this is like a rival undead creature in the area. She's not allied to the Golgari at all. She's her own thing. I think I might have made her a mind vampire, so possibly to do with a Demir. using the artwork for a card called Necropolis Regent. So she is just a high level vampire with magic, and she's got loads of skeletons and a skeleton wizard to help her. There is all these creatures down here, and all the guys in this back chamber. These are all more erstwhile, and these are currently slumbering. They're not controlled by the vampire. This is just happens to be another necropolis for the erstwhile that Storev would be interested in knowing the location of. So they don't have to fight all of these guys. So they could have, if they found their way in here and discovered all these erstwhile, they could end up telling Storev about that. I think in our campaign they came in here after they dealt with Storev, so it didn't fit into their plans. But I think I liked the way that they dealt with it through magic and deception. All of these, there's a kind of a passage through the crevices here, so they could find their way into this back area without fighting the vampire. There's a secret passage here, I also, this crack in the wall here, it has some use, because the vampire has the gaseous form spell, so to escape she can turn gaseous and then just slip through the cracks here, which is a good way of getting away. This area also is another area that serves as like a side quest area. There'd be various reasons to go fight this vampire other than just wandering in here randomly. There's a lot of characters that could give them a side quest to come in here and fight the vampire. Maybe Storev herself, or Vratislav, or anyone that would care about having another high level undead that wasn't allied to them in the area. I think in my campaign it was something to do with Demon Pazudalax. Asked them to come down here. Needed some vampire blood or something to create some kind of anti-disease potion for the player. So that was the reason they came down here. But you could come up with any reason, really. So this is the area that leads on from the Umeric necropolis. This is the area just before the Krosda labyrinth. It's a pretty sparse area. There's a few corpse jack zombies or wood wraiths lurking around here, but mostly it's empty. It's a good place for an ambush if you needed some plot specific ambush, because there's all these pillars. This great big black square here, this is the shadow of Penvar. Now, I showed you Penvar earlier on. It's this thing, the Hanging Citadel, which is a fortress of the Golgari that is hanging from the ceiling. So I kind of figured this could be a bridge underneath. So this could be the dead bridge that's going past it. So this stairs leads up on top of the bridge, which is going north-south down there. I put this this shadow here just to sort of call attention to it, without having to just say, well, if you look up, there's Penvar. It's like this kind of shows you where Penvar is, even though it's way above them. So it's something that they would go, what's that? And then I go, it's that, rather than just saying, look, it's that. So I'll show you the Penvar map is split into a few different maps because it's got various different levels. So this is the bit of the dead bridge that goes past Penvar. There's the stairs that leads down to the floor. There is a little passage that leads up to the actual entrance to Penvar. So this is the middle floor of it, and there's a lower floor below it, and there's a upper floor. There could probably be more floors if you wanted to, but I just thought that was unnecessary. This is already quite high up. Actually getting to it, this is like above the bit that's sticking downwards. So you've got a bunch of erstwhile soldiers guarding the place. These are the favoured troops of the Guildmaster Gerard, so they make up the garrison of it. But they've also got these crawl, and specifically winged crawl. So these are like those drones, but they have wings, so they can fly around. These guys occupy these rooms on the side of the building, which have these like ledges that they can leap out of and fly away. So they kind of work as good sort of guards to keep an eye on the bridge and see what's going down. And if anyone's attacking or looks like they're heading to war, they can dive on them and stab them with spears. There's a little caravan of guys coming past. These are Crawl with a brown scale lizard. It's quite possible that these guys are part of the plot to for the Crawl to attack Penvar. They might be sort of keeping an eye on it as spies. That's something to possibly work into it. So there's stairs that goes up to the upper floor, and stairs that goes down, and both of these are on the same map. So the upper floor of Penvar is home to the Crawl. They have these balconies to fly off of, and they have their own rooms to sleep in. They also have these telescopes to keep an eye on the labyrinth of Crosda with. These are magical enchanted telescopes that can see through the magical fog that protects it, so they can see if anyone bad is going into the labyrinth. In the upper floor of Penvar, this is where the erstwhile are garrisoned, protecting the citadel. They have their own rooms and eating hall, and a little prison section down here. This is also where they keep the stolen eggs that they stole from the Crawl hive, and if the party wish to rescue them, they can come in here and fight the erstwhile and get them from this prison. There's also an erstwhile wizard, shaman, caster down here. He's got his own study where he is casting spells. He's also responsible for casting the enchantments on the telescopes on the upper level, and he is also responsible for enchanting all of the Crawl flyers so that they can move through the magic fog that's protecting Crosda. So that's all of Penvar. So next up, this is the labyrinth of Crosda. This is a location that's mentioned in the story. In the middle of this maze of Crosda, which is made up of fungus and stone and plants, there is the location called Zvogthos, the Restless Tomb, which looks like this on the card. This is the final resting place of the original leader of the Golgari, a fella called Svogthir. I think I assume he was some kind of lich. That he is. I think he was also quite a giant as well. I can't remember, but his headless corpse is at rest in Zvogthos, and this is the base for the current Golgari Guildmaster Gerard Vodsavo. So this is where I've placed him. He is a very powerful lich, and he has his own stat line in the Ravnica book. So if the party wanted to challenge him, they could come here and fight him. He's got his own shamans and guards to protect him. He's got his own tomb to rest in, and he's got a study set up here. And this would be the tomb of Svogthir. So this map is a little bit of an indulgence on my part. It's entirely unnecessary. It's very unlikely the party at that level would want to try and fight Gerard because he's quite powerful, but they can do if they want to, and if they figure out a way of defeating him. And I just wanted to have that option there. I just like the idea of it. So working on this is sort of wasted effort, but yeah, I just wanted to do it. So it's there if they wanted to use it, and it's also this map can be used for sort of higher levels, or if they return to the Undercity. So I might still get use out of it. So the maze of Korozda that protects Zvogthos, it's described as being a maze made of plants and stone. I figured there was sort of a bit of a plot hole in that, in the labyrinth. In that, why wouldn't someone just climb over the top of the walls and get to the middle that way? So you could just start here, climb over the wall, then in the middle, in this little amphitheatre that Gerard has outside the cathedral. So to get around that, my own little headcanon, I decided that Korozda is protected by a layer of magical fog that rests on top of it, so that anyone going into the fog will just be teleported to the entrance of Korozda at this teleportation circle here. So this stops people from just walking over the top of it. It also acts as a sort of a release valve. If they get lost, they can just enter the fog and then they get back to the start. So this maze itself is full of all kinds of monsters. Like it's even coming in the start, they will get attacked by these big undead insectile horrors called glean crawlers, and they come up here and they'll get attacked by these trestle trolls that are hanging off the underside of the bridge, which goes over the top of Korozda. So the more time they spend in here, the more they're going to be wasting resources and getting into unnecessary fights. But there are reasons to come in here. If they treat with Ludmilla the Tunnel Viper, they could be looking for gorgons, of which there are several gorgons living in the maze, in the wetter parts. So that's one reason to come in here. But I didn't want to sort of encourage them to go too far in here. I did create a character who was like an elf scavenger that they would encounter if they carried on too far into the maze, who would sort of nudge them to leave if they were going in too far. There's a bit of a hint, but usually they're not too enthusiastic about staying in here because it's horrible. Another danger of staying in here is that the nearby citadel of Penvar, which is garrisoned by all the flying crawl, they have telescopes that can see through the fog, so if people are making their way through the labyrinth, they're being spied on by the crawl, and then those crawl who are enchanted to be able to get through the magical fog can dive down through the fog and attack them, and then move above the fog at will, so they are in a good tactical position. So that's another danger of walking around in the labyrinth. That is the last map I wanted to show you. So I will just go over the overworld map again, just to show where we've just been. So from the underside of Dead Bridge, we move to the Amerelek Necropolis and the other sort of hidden necropolis down here. Then we move to the area around Penvar, the Hanging Citadel, and then into the Crosda Labyrinth. So that's everything I wanted to talk about. So this is a new YouTube channel, so please like and subscribe and all those things. If you are interested in the maps I've created, please leave a comment down below to say so, and I might see myself clear to making a Patreon to make those maps available for anyone that wants them. But that's a possibility if you like to engage. So bye for now.